The pipe flower is made of two pieces of steel. The first one obviously is a piece of pipe. The second one, the stem, is a piece of 3/8 round bar. Now I've cut slits down 3 inches on the Schedule 40 1-inch pipe, and it started out 4.5 inches long. I've also cut 45-degree tips onto the petals using the zip cut on the angle grinder. So first I'm tapering that bottom of the pipe, and that's being hammered into a V swage block in the anvil. The V supports the pipe so it doesn't crush on sides. You'll be able to work this fairly easily round. It'll take a number of heats to get there because we want to taper down as far as the stem. The hammer's coming in with a diagonal stroke. It's a light stroke. You're really just coaxing the metal into that taper. A regular swage block would work fine. Fabricated V block would work fine. You can even do it on the face of the anvil itself. It's just slower going, and you have to be really cautious about not squishing the pipe. As I said, several heats to get it taken down. We can use the thickness of Schedule 40 to our advantage. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick, so you can actually get a fair amount of mass with this type of flower. And test it. So I've got a little ways to go yet to get down to the bar. I want a reasonable fit to the bar. I'll be electric welding it, MIG welding it, but I don't want it too sloppy. So at this point I'm bending the petals back on opposite sides. This allows easy access into my gas forge. And I'm just using the hardy hole as a hold to keep things from sliding around too much. Flatten out the petals. First step is going to be to taper that 45-degree cut that I did at the front. And that's creating the very tip of the petals of the pipe. And you could do virtually any shape you wanted here. This is a convenient one. And now I'll start working with a cross peen to stretch out the width of the petal. As I do this, I thin the petal, but I gain in width. And I also add texture to the front surface of the petal. And this is what's typically seen on this flower. Heavy strokes, and they follow the outline of the edge of the petal. You see some development there. This carries on for all 4 petals. Basically repeat the process over and over again. So I did the opposite petal, tapered to the point, the texturing on it, and now I'm bending the first 2 petals up out of the way and the other 2 petals down into a working alignment. Same thing, flatten out, smooth out, do my taper. The initial 45-degree cut really helps with this. It's only a few hammer blows to generate that taper. And the cross peening. Lots of texture. Really makes the flowers pop. Now that's all 4 that are textured. And now I'll bend it into the sort of flower shape. I'm going to use a combination of over the anvil and scrolling tongs, pliers. So this is just generating the initial bends near the stem portion of the flower. It gives you a basic idea of what the flower will look like. Do some details on the tips. And this is just creating a reflex curve. As we know, flowers come in all shapes and all sizes, and it's just up to your interpretation how you want to deal with how your piece finally looks. Nice thing is most of the metal working with a flower, pretty thin stock, heats up quickly, manipulates easily. A little bit more risky in a coal forge. There's always a risk of burning it. Propane works quite well for this small stuff though. Using the scrolling tongs, really just tweaking it, finessing the shape until something I like. Wire brush, get rid of some of the scale. It will be power wire reeled at the end. So now the stem. This is a really handy tool. It's a heading tool or an upsetting tool, and there's holes of different sizes in it. It's made from some, in this case, 3/4 inch square bar that's welded to angle iron with a spring on the back. Now the trick to making this tool is that you clamp the 2 pieces together with 2 layers of cardboard, like box board from a cereal box, between the 2 pieces of steel, and you drill your round hole through that. So this has a 1/4 hole, a 5/16, a 3/8, and a 1/2 inch. That's common bar stock that I'll use on this. And what happens is when you take the cardboard out, you're closing 2 halves of the circle together, but part of the circle is missing, and that will pinch down on the bar. And that gives you a nice tight clamp. I also have circles drawn on the top, and literally once I get the button started, I'm just trying to fill that circle, and that will keep things nice and centered. Dressing up the button a little bit. And that gives you a nice rivet head. So I've welded on the lower one, the one on the anvil, I've welded the pipe to the stem. And now I'm just putting a knee bend in it so it's facing off about 45 degrees. And this is using bending forks. And these bending forks are just 2 pieces of 1/2 inch rod welded to a base that fits in the anvil. And I'm just trying to get that 45-degree bend in there. Bending forks are a great addition to doing organic work. Easy to manipulate. And there, you have your 45-degree bend. Leaves the rest of the rod nice and straight. There's the finished flower on the right and the original on the left.